All right, we're going to go over the 3 reads strategy. I'm going to go through the first few slides of this Desmos just to make sure that you have a solid understanding of how to use the 3 reads method with this example. So first, when we do our first read, we want to know just quickly what is the situation about. So Maria plans to rent a boat. The boat rental costs $60 per hour, and she will also have to pay for a water safety course that costs $10. Maria wants to spend no more than $280 for the rental and the course. So first, I read a quick blurb about what it was about. So I remember from what I just read, Maria is renting a boat, and she has $280 to spend, I think. So it's just a quick, like, what is it about? It's about a boat rental, and it's about money. It's not about skiing. It's not about basketball. So you're just giving a quick sentence about, what was the gist of what you just read or heard in that first read. All right, so we move on to the second read. So in the second read, it says, what are the quantities in the situation? So quantities are numbers with their units. So we want to look through as we read, and we want to determine what are some of the numbers in this situation and what do they have to do with Maria. So Maria plans to rent a boat. The boat rental costs $60 per hour, and she will also have to pay for a water safety course that costs $10 per hour. Maria wants to spend no more than $280 for the rental and the course. All right, so I saw 3 numbers as I read through this problem. I saw a 60, I saw a 10, and I saw a 280. That's the order I saw them in. So what is important for me to include in this is to include the units. So these aren't just like 60, 10, and 280. These are all dollar amounts. So I want to put the dollar sign on here. That's the units, or you could write the word dollars, but $60, $10, $280. And it's probably a good idea to have a little note for myself about what this is. So this is a boat rental fee. It says per hour. So it's a charge every hour for the boat. Oops. Okay, and then our $10 is a safety course. So it's a one-time charge for the safety course. And you may not always have this much to say for each problem, but you want to kind of give some little bit of description about what the number is. And then 280 is her budget, Maria's budget. She doesn't want to spend more than that. So that's how much she has, and she doesn't want to spend any more than that. All right, so our next task is to create some kind of visual about these quantities. So I want to show some way that I know the 10, the 60, and the 280 are are related. So you can really draw anything that makes sense to you in this situation. There's no like really wrong answer. There's really a lot of different right answers, as long as you're showing like how they relate to each other. So you want to know, how are these 2 or 3 actually quantities, how are they relating to each other? How are they connected? So let's see, we have a 60, oops, $60 was to rent the boat, so maybe I'll draw a little boat over this. And that's per hour. So it's going to actually be, I'm just going to write per hour because I don't really know what that means yet. Per hour. And they don't have to be good art because it's really hard to draw with a mouse, number 1, and this is not art class. So $60 per hour. But we have to take this little safety course. So I know that's going to be added to this somehow. So that, you can say safety course. Since you guys have the touch screen, it's probably a lot easier for you. And this is a $10 safety course, so I'm going to put $10 on here. All right, and then you have Maria. I love drawing stick figures. It's my only way of drawing people, really. And she has a certain amount of money. She's going to go to the safety course. She's going to pay the $10 and she's going to go rent this boat, $60 per hour. But she only has a certain amount of money. So she has some dollars and she has $280. Okay. So she's going to take her $280. She's going to pay this $10 for the safety course. Then she's going to go and rent this boat for $60 an hour. I don't have to actually figure anything out. I'm just kind of talking and showing through some kind of visual how these numbers kind of go together. So there's an idea for you. Now, like I said, there isn't a right or wrong answer here. So let me show you a few things that other students wrote or drew. Here's another one. Here's Maria thinking of money. She's got a course to think about and a boat to think about. They didn't include any numbers here, so that's probably not the best visual. Let's see if I can find another good one. This one says boat times something. I'm not sure what this is. Plus, maybe this is a safety course. So they're trying to show out how those things are mathematically connected. Here's your $280. Here's your $10 for your safety. Your $60 an hour for the boat. Again, they don't have to be great artists here. Just some way to make sure that we show they're connected. This person did a little bit more math, but you don't actually have to figure anything out. This person looks like they figured it out. It's not really connecting how they are related, except for showing that if it's 4 hours, it's going to be 460s. So that might be helpful, showing the budget here. But we didn't really need to calculate anything, so you don't have to do numbers like that. Here's another one, person taking a course. They're going to do 60 plus 10. So just some kind of visual that makes sense to you about how those things are related to each other. So trying to make some visual connection to the numbers. So then in the third read, we actually come up with some questions and we try to determine what we think might be asked. So we should actually come up with multiple questions. Maria plans to rent a boat. The boat rental costs $60 per hour, and she will have to also pay for a water safety course that costs $10. Maria wants to spend no more than $280 for the rental and the course. So what kind of question could we ask here? We could say, how long does Maria rent the boat, right? That's the one thing I don't know. I don't know about how many hours she's going to rent the boat. I could also say, how much money does Maria want to have left over? If she rents the boat for blank hours, how much money will she have left over? So there's an obvious question, right? How many hours? But then after that, you can kind of ask some other follow-up questions. Okay, then we move into defining our variable. So next, we would pick one question as a class, or the question would be given to you at this point. And as a class, we decided, let's figure out how many hours, because we can't figure out how many of the other things or any of the answers to the other questions until we know how many hours. So our question was, how long is she going to rent the boat? So I'm going to pick a variable, maybe use H. And I'm going to say H, because I'm defining the variable. I'm telling you what it represents. Represents the number of hours that Maria rents the boat. So you're picking a letter, and then you're also saying, what does that letter mean? Like, what quantity is it going to represent? Is it going to represent the amount of what, or the number of what? So it's always a number or an amount of something, because your variable will be equal to some number. So you're defining your variable. And then from here, we're going to use this H, and we're going to actually make an equation to match the situation. So we want to think about what's happening to the variable in the story. How is the quantity in the problem being built? So when I'm looking at the quantity, I'm thinking of how is it being built. That makes me think about the $280. Like, how are we building up to using that $280? So I might want to, at the end, have my equation equal to 280. And then think about how do the 60, the 10, the H, how do all those things work together to build to that $280? And so we know that there's a $10 safety course, so which you have to pay for right away. So I can start with that. And then you're going to add on to that $60 for every hour. So 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus however many hours. We don't know how many hours. So rather than doing like plus 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60, we can say 60 times the number of hours, and we can use H because H represents our number of hours. So we can add our $10 fee to our $60 fee, but the $60 fee has to get multiplied by H because we don't know how many hours, so we don't know how many 60s are going to be involved here. But we can do 10 plus 60H equals 280. The $60 is a per hour fee, so it would make sense that I would multiply it by H, which is my number of hours. I have to add that to the 10, and that's going to equal out to my total cost, which if we set it up this way, this will help us determine like how many hours can she rent the boat for if she uses all of her money. So we'll say like how many hours is it possible for her to rent the boat for, or what is the maximum number of hours she can rent the boat for if she uses all $280. So that's why we set up our equation this way, is to help us figure that out. So our next step is to solve the equation and then give an answer to that question. So we're going to use our inverse operation. So 10 plus 60H equals 280. Oops. Okay. So in order to solve this, we have to figure out what H is, but in order to get the H by itself, we need to get the 60 off the front of it, and we need to get this 10 off of it. So I'm going to start with the constant term, which is the 10. It's a positive 10, so I'm going to subtract 10 there, and I'm going to go to the other side of the equal sign and subtract 10 over here. So I'm going to get 0 for that first part, plus 60H equals 270. We took off the safety training course fee. So we have $270 left to spend. If we're getting charged $60 for every hour, we want to figure out how many hours can we do this for. So in order to do that, it's 60 times H. So I need to undo times, or the inverse of multiplying. So I need to divide by 60 to get rid of that 60. I'm going to divide the 270 by 60 also. I'm going to go to my calculator because I don't know that on the top of my head. When I do 270 divided by 60, H equals 4.5. So what that means is she can rent the boat for 4.5 hours, but they didn't say that we are allowed to rent it for half hours. So really, we don't have enough money to rent it for 5 hours because we didn't get, our H isn't quite 5, right? So we have to kind of like go backward and say the most she can rent it for is 4 hours. They did 4 hours. 60 times 4 is 240, plus 10 is 250. So she'd have $30 left. So I can say in a sentence here, because it says, write your final answer in a sentence in the context of the scenario. So I'm going to say, Maria can rent the boat for a maximum of 4 hours. And we could add that other part in there. She will spend $250 and have $30 left over. Now, she might decide she wants to spend it for, or do it less than 4 hours, rent it for less than 4 hours, or 3 hours, or 2 hours, 1 hour. But this is the most she's able to based on the amount of money that she has. So what the most important part is interpreting your answer at the end. If you get a decimal, you're going to have to decide, do I round up? Do I round down? Can I keep it as a decimal? What makes the most sense? Since our H stood for the number of hours, we could theoretically have 4.5 hours as an answer, but in this situation, there isn't a cost for renting it for a half hour. So if you tried to rent it for 4.5 hours, they're going to charge you for 5 hours. So you want to make sure that you're only renting it for 4 hours because you don't have enough money to cover that last hour. All right. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. Please let me know if you have any further questions, and good luck practicing. Thanks.